outside of that, I think it's important that we explain how did Redisa actually deal with the waste tires, because there seems to be this perception that we recycle tires, and although we are responsible for waste tires, we actually didn't recycle. What we did is create an environment in which recycling becomes financially feasible. And I think this speaks to the overarching theme of why we have a lot of waste problems, is that waste is generally an economic issue.
Absolutely.
If there is no money to be made out of the recycling process, or the recycled material is more expensive than virgin material, manufacturers always tend to move to the virgin material because, let's face it, business is about generating profit. The cost of recycling tires is quite expensive. And
Absolutely.
the recyclers, you know, because as we said earlier, they're in constant competition with the price of virgin material, the recycling of tires generally is not financially feasible unless they are subsidized to a less or more degree. So one of the things, for example, is the oil price. So if the oil price were to go super high, let's, heaven forbid, it's $200 a barrel.
But if it were to double or
so, then all of a sudden pyrolyzing tires to create oil might be financially viable. But in a situation where the oil price falls, then all of a sudden operations like that don't make commercial sense. So in order to create this longevity, you need to have a subsidy which is paid that basically bridges the gap between recycled material and virgin material. I mean, I know that when we did the cement kilns, people think that they can just use tires as a fuel without major alteration. But in order to actually use tires in a cement kiln, the feeding system needs to be changed. I know that we had discussions about how blowers for more oxygen needed to be changed. So there's a massive capital investment of, I think it was north of 30 million rand.
What you're touching on, Alex, is a point that I think needs expanding on, which is that it's more complicated. You know, we like to talk about the circular economy, but for so many people, it's sort of recycling. It's like a circle. You only got half of the wheel. If you don't have the other half, it goes clunk and it stops. It doesn't rotate. For a recycler to work, one, they need longevity. Longevity, I don't know how you say that one. They need to know, because any successful recycling plant is going to cost 60 million up to $500 million if it's going to do the job properly, because it's a very difficult job, far harder than most people think. So you're going to put a lot of money into this. You need to know that for 10, 15, 20 years, you have a market and you're going to have a supply. If you don't have some kind of controlling entity, and this is what used to be in the very early 2000s, people would set up a tire recycling plant. They would go to dealers, they would negotiate to get their scrap tires, and then they would find that it doesn't work very well, and then they'd go bust. Somebody else would buy the plant at knockdown liquidation sale prices, and then they could operate profitably for a couple of years. But then somebody else would start up in the next industrial zone and go to the same dealers, fighting with them for the supply of tires. And it was a mess. They just collapsed. And even the ones that managed to limp along for a bit, now you're producing crumb rubber. Now what? Who's going to use it?
Yeah.
So one of the little talked about aspects of the Redisa plan was that we funded R&D to develop the technology, to develop the standards, to develop the downstream markets, to find out what else can you do with crumb rubber. We didn't just say somebody needs to recycle the tires, which is the current state of affairs. Yes, they're going to recycle the tires. Into what? What can you make from it? How do you do this? We set up a pilot factory plant where we built rubber pavers, and we had them approved by SABS to make sure that they would be usable in the market, that they would have a lifetime. That's what's being missed now, is that waste tires are being managed in a point solution. Collect the tires. Oh, we don't have anywhere to send them. They've just gone out to tender to build another 1 million square meters of storage space for tires.